Welcome and aloha. My name is Mark Shklov. I am the host of this special ThinkTech Hawaii program titled Arkansas Shares Educational Inspiration and Economic Insight with Hawaii. And my guests today are Ray Tsuchiyama and Anthony Owen. And we are going across the sea to Arkansas and to meet Anthony Owen. First, let me introduce Ray Tsuchiyama. Ray is a Hawaii technology consultant who recently authored an op-ed in Hawaii's Sunday paper titled Learn from Arkansas's Digital Economy Quest. In that op-ed, Ray praised Arkansas's focus on teaching computer science in public schools, which was aimed at creating a new and local economic future for that state. Ray's op-ed suggests that Hawaii can learn how to diversify and improve its own educational system and economy from Arkansas's experience. Anthony Owen is across the sea, is the Arkansas Director of Computer Science and leads the development and implementation of Arkansas's Computer Science Initiative. I'd like to thank both of you for being here and sharing your time and knowledge. First, before I get to talk to Anthony and ask him some questions, and I'm also going to ask Ray to chime in with questions. Ray, what has been the reaction to your op-ed and your suggestion that computer science is a good strategy for Hawaii's educational system and economy?
Thank you, Mark. The Star Advertiser op-ed received tremendous positive response from many people in government, business, and education sectors in Hawaii. And I really wanted to show the people of Hawaii insights to another state that took a big risk and really wanted to highlight that Hawaii could learn from another state and its experiences in promoting computer science in public education.
Okay, so I'm glad that we got a positive response. And now I guess, let's find out a little bit about it, what the Arkansas program is. Anthony, we're grateful for your time. We're grateful that you're here talking to us, and we really appreciate your friendship. Ray indicated in his op-ed that Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson launched this computer science initiative during his 2014 gubernatorial campaign. Can you tell us a little bit about the background, what happened, what this was about? Why did Governor Hutchinson start it? How did he learn the value of computer science and what he thinks it means for the future of Arkansas?
Well, so Governor Hutchinson obviously has been the instrumental reason that Arkansas has really, embraced this computer science and computing initiative, what he refers to colloquially as his coding initiative. And he has a story that he tells in public, and then he has a story that he'll tell sometimes in public, but really doesn't, it's not his impetus. He was actually the first governor that we can find on record that ran a gubernatorial ad that included the word coding in the campaign. And it all came about, or a big portion that he shares of why it came about was his granddaughter, Elabeth, who was 11 at that point, had come home after he had announced his gubernatorial campaign, had went over to see her grandpa, and she had written an app, created an app for his campaign. And she was showing, Grandpa, I created this app for your campaign. And his son-in-law, her father, is a programmer. And he looked at Dave and he said, Dave, did she do this as part of school? And Dave, basically said, no, they're not teaching this in school. And he said, well, why not? If my granddaughter can do it, why are we not giving our students all across Arkansas an opportunity to learn how to do this and have high paying jobs? And I think a light went off in his head and he said, this is our opportunity to give students like Elabeth, students like my sons, and students across Arkansas, especially those in high poverty areas, tools that will not only give them, job opportunities here in Arkansas, but also, be able to fill some opportunities across the nation because nobody was doing this at that point. And we had a great, our governor's office had a great relationship with representatives from code.org and their leadership at that time. And code.org had started talking to him a little bit about this once they had let this information out. And he just decided to put his full administrational focus, or a large portion of it. It was one of 7 key administrational focuses were his first term, and remains one of his main two administrational focuses into his second term. The reason he doesn't talk, or the other reason that he doesn't talk about a whole lot in public, is a lot of people forget that Governor Hutchinson was the first undersecretary for the Department of Homeland Security whenever it was created. So he also looks at this as a need not only for Arkansas, but for our nation to develop these skills and a digitally literate citizenry, because cybersecurity is going to become of more importance as we move into the future than it has ever been. So really 2 main reasons there. But he's an economy governor. He is all about making Arkansas's economy as strong as it can be for as long as it can be, and he saw this as an opportunity to do so.
And it sounds, what I hear is that the young who know a lot about this area more than maybe some of us older folks are starting the impetus, and the light bulb went on in the governor when he saw this and put it all together. Ray, what would you ask Anthony?
Anthony, for the past 5 years, you've been the computer science czar or head embedded in the Arkansas Department of Education. How did you become that czar or fit into that role? What were the goals and for your team going forward? And how did you execute your strategy?
Back 5 years ago, whenever Governor Hutchinson was elected, we knew from my previous response that computer science was going to become a focus. Our department, whenever I was working back then, I was the math specialist within the curriculum instruction unit and the only one that had a computer science background. So immediately it fell to me to start kind of making some plans, to start working with the ideas that were coming forward. And code.org was leading a lot of the work with policy suggestions early on. And one of their policy suggestions back then, which at that point they only had 7, now they have 9. One of them was to create a dedicated computer science position within state government, either the governor's office or the Department of Education. So ours was the first state to do so. That position was announced in April of 2015. I honestly didn't feel like I would get that position. I felt like it would be somebody, a political appointee, somebody much better looking than me, somebody with actual hair on their head. And, but I'd been doing the work. And so I sat down and I wrote out a 22-page strategic plan, which included the work that we had been doing, what my vision of how we should implement this program over the next 5 years should be, taking the influence from the governor's office, our leadership, what I knew to be the needs out there in the field. And I wrote up this document and used that in my interview. Once again, I didn't think I would get the job even because of that. I just hoped that people would see, whoever got the job would be able to see the work that we had done, see the plan, and be able to execute it, and maybe down the road hire me to be their assistant or something. I walked out of that interview still thinking the same thing. I'm like, hey, but I'll get it in front of the people. Got called, got offered the job, and it's just been a blessing since then. They told me that work and that strategic plan was a major reason. We've actually adopted that strategic plan as our state strategic plan. Now, if you go out and look at it, it's available on the website. You'll see that it says working document. The reason it says that is because I never intended for that to be a static plan. We don't want it to be a static plan. But you asked why I ended up in this position. I said earlier, and I just always kind of keep this in the back of my mind, I think that we're put into the positions where we're supposed to be if we'll just open our ears and our hearts to listening to that inside voice that tells us where we should go. And sometimes we're given special opportunities, and this has been a special opportunity for me.
Well, just let me say that I like your haircut very much. It's very good. And also, I'm glad to hear that you're a lawyer and have passed the bar in Arkansas. And we're going to take a break pretty soon, but before we do, about a minute we have left before our break. when the governor announced this vision, and I understand it was for a school, K through 12, computer science in Arkansas, what was the reaction of the people, the citizens of Arkansas?
So I think some of the initial reactions, and I think that you look at varying groups of people. I think a lot of initial reactions were, this is just another campaign promise that we really won't see any fruition to. And I think that sentiment was held for some time, even after the first year of the governor, after he was elected. But since then, we have gotten legislation with dedicated funding year after year with no sunset, $2.5 million per year just for our office to implement this program. We've developed the flex credit. The governor has it part of his second administrational focus still. There was early on, the first year I gave him a report of schools that I felt like weren't meeting their mandate to offer a computer science course. He pulls out his cell phone and calls a superintendent. I won't use that superintendent's name, but says, hey, this is Governor Asa Hutchinson. I'm looking at a report and it shows here that you don't have any students enrolled in one of my computer science classes. I thought you had told me last time we spoke you were progressive. What's the problem? And those were the types of conversations, the type of interaction and the governor's computer science coding tours that has really changed the public's interest and focus in this to be that it's not just another campaign promise. It is a promise for Arkansas's and our students' future for well into the next generation.
Oh, well, it's really good to hear that, something has come, not just from a promise, but it really action, and that it's meaningful and it's appreciated. And it's good to hear that it comes from a politician, also somebody involved in the politics of the state. And we're going to get back into that, and we'll take a short break and we'll talk a little bit more about the specifics in about a minute. Aloha, we are back with Ray Tsuchiyama and Anthony Owen, talking about Arkansas's impetus to use computer science to develop its economy through education. Ray, what's your question for Anthony?
Well, the biggest metric, of course, is from 2015 to now has been the exponential growth of high school students in Arkansas studying computer science. And it used to be like 1,000 5 years ago. Now it's over or nearly 10,000. And there's three things that happened that I see, and Anthony can comment. One, the development of K-8, K-12 standards. Second, incentivizing teachers to become computer science certified. And third, incentivizing students to take the placement test and study that and go into college. Now, can you speak on what was the tactics that got you to where you are today?
Sure. Well, I'll just break them down exactly the way that you spoke to them, Ray, because I think that was most appropriate. Let's talk about students first and just the overall growth. One, the main incentivization that we gave for students early on was our CS Flex credit, which, as I mentioned earlier, we early on had to face the question of what was computer science? Was it a math? Was it a science? Is it a foreign language? All those questions early on.
we actually took a very novel approach to it, and we said, it's a computer science credit. Why are we trying to fit it into something else? Why don't we just create a new category and call it computer science and give students the option to take those credits in place of some of the others? So in Arkansas, we require 4 maths or 3 sciences and then 6 what we call career focuses. What the computer science flex credit can do is it actually can offset 1 math, 1 science, and as many career focused flex credits as you want. So if you took 3 computer science units throughout your high school career, you could replace your 4th year math graduation requirement with that. It's not a math credit, it's a computer science credit. We just change your graduation requirements. You could take and replace your 3rd year science. You could take and then replace 1 of your 6 career focuses. If you have your 4 math, your 3 sciences, and you still take 3 computer science, that replaces 3 of your career focus credit. That is one early incentive that we put in place for students, and really it's been one of the most beneficial things that we've seen because it allows students to be more in control. To teachers, early on, the governor said, I want to give high school teachers an incentive to teach these courses. So what we did is we instituted a $2,000 stipend program for teachers to become fully certified and then teach a full year of computer science, high school computer science to their students. Since then, we've implemented K-8 incentive programs, and we've actually extended that high school program to 5 years so a teacher can actually receive $10,000 at a high school level for teaching computer science over 5 years and becoming fully endorsed. At a student level, again, we incentivized our students to take upper level courses because it's not just introductory level courses that we want our students taking. So we incentivized our AP CSA course, not AP CS Principles, even though it's a good course. It's not an upper level course in our opinion, but students that take that course and score a 5, not only do we pay for all AP tests across our state, if they take the class, but if a student scores a 5 on that test, we will pay them $1,000. If they score 4, $700, and this is cash awards that we give to the students.
Wow, that's those are good incentives. Now let's talk about an incentive for the state of Hawaii. As you know, Hawaii relies on tourism for its economy, and of course, during this COVID-19 pandemic we're having, tourism has gone down. What advice, Anthony, would you give to Hawaii about improving its economy through computer science? What are your suggestions? What would you share from your experience?
Well, we're not exactly the same as Hawaii, obviously, but we have a relatively small population. Our economy is still primarily agricultural based, but we do have tourism industry. I think that Hawaii's situation, though the numbers may not be exactly the same, the reasoning behind it is exactly the same. You see what can happen to your major industry by, hopefully we don't have global pandemics year after year, but there are issues that will cause fluxes in different bases of economies. That's what Governor Hutchinson saw whenever he was looking at our state's long-term economic viability. And he said, our students have to be trained to be able to take the jobs that are going to be out there and available for them, that we can fill jobs instead of companies having to go to India or Mexico to find programmers. Why can't they pipe in students, programmers from Arkansas? And that, I think, is the most important story. And it's amplified in the light of the COVID situation in a state such as Hawaii, is that you can't have your economic base be all in one basket. You have to give your citizens the tools that they need to be able to fill jobs. I mean, Hawaii could be exporting programming just as well as Arkansas, India or Mexico or any other of these places that they are. And trust me, those jobs and those positions are still needed, and they're still high paying.
And it looks, what I hear you saying is we're looking towards the future, and you did it 5 years ago. You started doing it, and it looks like it is something that is valuable for Arkansas. And Ray, let me ask you, how are we going to learn? How is Hawaii going to learn this important lesson that Governor Hutchison learned from his granddaughter, passed on, Anthony has taken and implemented for the whole state? How do we do this? Ray, where do we go from here in Hawaii?
Well, 5 years ago, Hawaii was coming out of the Lehman shock and tourism looked like it was going to be spectacular. And remember, last year was a great year. Everything pointed to that. Looking at Arkansas, the leadership really took a big risk. And I think what Governor Hutchison did, though, was a culture change that embedded in the minds of Arkansas citizens that you can do it. You can do it, but you have to execute on a plan. And as Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. But they overturned that. They achieved something because Hawaii and Arkansas are more alike than different. Remember, we have both diverse and unequal populations. We both have non-21st century economies. We both have public education challenges. We both have no elite university nearby. But in spite of that, Arkansas just went and really implemented common sense incentives to make computer science the #1 priority in the state. And that's what we have to look at, how to change the whole government, business, education sectors of Hawaii to move to that goal.
And who needs to do that in our system here? Who do we look to? Who's our leader?
Great question. I think it has to come from the governor. It has to come from the legislature, top people, and the CEOs of major companies, and the Department of Education working collaboratively as a team to implement, because it's not just K-12, it's also changing the curricula of a university. There is now majors in data science at the University of Arkansas. They changed how the pipeline has changed for more rigorous programs at universities in Arkansas, and has invited like DX Tech to come and create 1,000, 1,500 jobs over the next 3 years. So it is a holistic business, education, government initiative.
Okay, we have a couple minutes left. Anthony, in closing, I mean, we greatly appreciate your friendship and the friendship of Arkansas for Hawaii. And, stranger bedfellows maybe could not have been imagined, but we are happy that we've set this up and are talking to each other. Thank you so much. Have any closing thoughts for our state based on your own experience with this new idea?
Well, I've been blessed to advise a lot of states over the past 4 to 5 years of how they should implement computer science in their states. And everywhere I go, every single person that I speak to in education or government always tells me that we're local control. And I say, and I always respond to them, yes, you are, because there's only one state in our union that is not local control, and that is Hawaii, because the whole state is one school district. And so basically all across the United States, every other state has to fight with the issue of some spectrum of local control. I think that's where Hawaii actually has a benefit above even Arkansas. We love our local leaders. We love our local superintendents here in Arkansas, but we also have to get their buy-in. We have to get their unless we're writing a legislative mandate, which y'all know how well those sometimes go over in the education community. Unless we're really writing that legislation and our regulatory mandate and want to put some teeth behind it, it's hard sometimes to get that buy-in from that superintendent, that upper level. I think y'all are in a unique position that by being one educational system, one state superintendent of education that's over all of your schools, I think y'all are unique and have an opportunity to make this even larger for your state and your system than say even Arkansas can. I think that y'all have a unique opportunity, but I think Ray hit the nail on the head. it comes down to leadership getting behind it, whether it be the governor, along with the legislature, which works, but it also has to be your industry leaders there in Hawaii that are tech industries. It has to be everybody pulling in the same direction. Otherwise, it's only tied to that one administration. And that's the thing that I think Governor Hutchinson has done so beautifully and admirably, is that he's term limited in about 2.5 years. But this initiative is going to carry on well past him because he's got the legislature's buy-in and he's got Arkansas industry leader buy-in.
Well, Anthony, we thank you. Ray, is there any closing thoughts for you that you'd like to add?
Well, personally, I have a family contact with Arkansas. My father experienced a year at Rower at a relocation camp, but he enjoyed it. He really met some great people. There was a lot of rice in Arkansas, and he found the people there very, very compassionate and warm to him.
All right. Well, this is a good experience for all of us in these times of COVID-19 and political turmoil. It's great to talk with each other. It's great to work with each other. It's good to help each other. So thank you. Thank you all, and aloha.